Hi everyone and welcome. I'm Diane and my passion is painting and creating nature-inspired watercolours in my studio, which are easy for you to do too. I share all my paintings with you on YouTube, and on our website dianeantone.com you can find free downloadable sketches for all the videos to help you make the most of your painting journey. And if you'd like a little bit more, we also have channel memberships with loads of perks for you to enjoy. So welcome on board. Click subscribe and turn on notifications, and let's learn to paint watercolour. Hi everyone, Diane here, welcome to my studio. Today I'm going to be using my Kuretake Art Nouveau set, and before I get started I'm just going to clean up these pans because being a bit of a mucky duck when it comes to painting, I do tend to leave them in a bit of a mess. So that would, tint the colours in it. I mean, it doesn't really matter, but every now and again, it's probably best to go in there and just, I'm using a sort of flat brush here. Make sure I rinse it out in between, otherwise I'll end up putting that in there, which I have done already. And I'm just kind of quickly giving them a wash and brush up, rinse that out. And it's always useful to have two containers of water, which you can't see at the moment, but I'll show you. Here we have the dirty water and the clean water. This is a Meeden ceramic dish, what would you call it, water pot, which is quite nice. I normally use two large mason jars for my water, but since I have this, I thought I would give it a whirl. And just going through the colours now, one by one. I'm not wasting much paint. I'm picking up a little bit of paint, obviously, just to get the tops clean of these. And they'll look a little bit better then, once that's done. So I'll probably just zoot forward on this. Oh, this one's nice and messy. I shouldn't really let them get this bad, but sometimes, anyway. So yeah, nice and clean and ready for the off. So I'm going to do something nice and easy and simple, a sort of mixed media, sort of watercolour type of thing today. And I'm using a piece of Bockingford paper. This is Bockingford, it's a block, glued all the way around so that it doesn't buckle when it's being used. It really makes it a lot easier to do a biggish kind of painting. This isn't huge. This is a piece of paper, 14 by 10 inches. You could do it on a smaller sheet as well if you wanted to. Obviously, it doesn't matter. Or bigger, come to that. I'm just going to give myself a little bit more space today and see how things go. I'm using a size 12 Princeton Aqua Elite round brush here, basically because this is easy to get in America and around the world. They're very widely available on Amazon. They're not very expensive and they last for a while. I've got a Meeden palette here. This is just like a white plate. Looks like the kind of thing you would put sushi on or something. So you've probably got one of these at home, but if you haven't, you can get it for very few dollars from Meeden. And you know all about Meeden, don't you? Because we've talked about that multiple times. But I'm not using Meeden paints today. I'm going to use the Kuretake, as I said, Art Nouveau colours. And they're all out of order, actually. They're all muddled up here because I've had them out and rearranged them and so on. So we'll just work with that. I'll put that up there a bit because I probably won't need much of it. I'm going to move that to there so you can see most of the paints. And I've got my water in my Meeden pot here, which is quite nice too. So I'm all very coordinated today. That's a bit unusual, isn't it? Now, what am I going to do? There's a bit of a fashion at the moment for what I call deconstructed paintings. And some people call them reverse colouring. Some people call them mixed media. Some people call them a mess, whatever. And so I'm going to do something like that. And I don't know, I think it's one thing to just put splotches of paint on, and I do that quite often. This one I did the other day, these flowers, they were just shapeless forms, and then I pulled them together with pen, so over inking the shapes onto the blobs, the blurbs. But I think what I'm going to do today is I think I might start with some circles, and it's best just to start really. So I've committed myself now to blue because I've started with blue, and I'm just going to try to enjoy what I'm doing. So I'm going to move that out of the way because it's casting a terrible shadow. So that's nice, and I think I might do another one of those with another colour from here, and I'm looking at these lovely shades and how they all go so well together. See how that's beautifully drifted there, hasn't it? And should I perhaps, I was thinking, shall I go bold and do green, or shall I be a little bit cowardly and go for much more neutral? So we'll do blue and sand colour, which is nice, isn't it? My favourite colour combination actually is blue and gold. Well, not gold. You know, like the seaside when you get the yellowish sand and the bluish water. Excuse me. And then maybe, I don't know, perhaps we can add some of this lovely pink. Perhaps maybe we'll put some more beige on the outside of that. Birds are going bonkers today. I expect you can hear them. And the bees. Finally, I can have the door open so we can hear what's going on in the outside world. And let me think. I really like that blue, so I think I'm going to put a bit more of that up here. And because we don't spend a lot of money on these paints, they're not expensive. The thing to remember is that if you feel you want to wash your brush in between strokes so that you can get a really nice free movement on the paper, then you don't need to worry about the cost of it, because it's not, you know, super expensive like some paints are. So I think I might go for another beige over here. That's a slightly different brown beige colour. Let that zoom out. The beauty of doing something like this is that you don't need to be aiming for anything. All you're doing, the only thing you're aiming for is to cover the paper. Or some of it anyway. You don't need to cover all of it. And I think I'm going to go for the blue again here. And we'll make this one a little bit smaller. And then once I've got these circles in place, I'm going to try out the idea of mark making over the top. So we just put in some slightly stronger ones in slightly varying sizes, and maybe a bit darker. And there's a nice dark blue here. So maybe I'll put something up here in that. It's more of a greeny blue. Maybe, was it that one? Yeah. Maybe I'll put a little bit of that down here too. So I suppose we have a kind of curvy, linear idea. Do you think we need to put something in the inside of that there? Okay. So here I've got some pastel pencils. We've got white, sepia, and sanguine, so dark brown, rusty colour, and white. And I could be really bold and do a line right across the middle, or I could take the dark colour and perhaps think about adding shapes. And this is where I get to sit down. You could do this in paint if you wanted to. It's probably best not to think too hard about what you're doing. So that's a dark one, and then maybe we could do circles, little circles up here perhaps. The texture of these pencils is lovely. And as I always say, you know, if you do it in one, you probably want to also put it somewhere else. But maybe slightly varied. Now don't forget, at this point, this is where you don't say, oh my God, what am I doing? You say, ooh, that's exciting. Look what I've done. And you think about the next thing that you're going to do. So I'm just waiting for this really to dry there a little bit. And I'm thinking, am I going to do this really mixed media, or am I going to stick with my brushes? It's not easy to say. So maybe I will spiralize this one and this one, perhaps. And maybe we get to a certain point where you might think, now I can put a line in. Now I can see where this is going to go, perhaps. You know, perhaps not, but it's a good way to spend some time, isn't it? Just doodling. Maybe we'll go to the... It's probably best to not use too many different colours for something of this type. If you want it to be in any way coordinating, you know, with itself sort of thing. Let's see, I think maybe we could bring this up here, and perhaps I'm going to turn that into a plant motif. We have to be open to ideas evolving as you go along, right? And we could have another one coming up from down here. Maybe we'll bring one in from at the top here. That's still slightly damp there. We could, with this one perhaps, we could, let me think. Do some little leaves there. When people talk about mixed media, it sounds so sort of highfalutin and complicated and, you know, a bit artsy-fartsy kind of thing, which is not a compliment, but doesn't need to be. You need to be careful about not rubbing your hand all over the pastel, though. That's one thing you do need to be careful about. But I don't think that mixed media needs to be considered to be intimidating or daunting. In fact, if anything, it ought to be easier, really. I'm wondering whether I want to paint. Do I want to paint these leaves blue and see what happens to the pastel where it touches? Should get a little bit of a run. I don't think I'm going to go over those ones. What do you think? But I think I'm going to go over these ones too. Have a little bit of a run there. And I wonder whether these could be enhanced by a little bit of burnt sienna paint in there. And I could do the same thing over here. So you just keep going, building up. This brush has got a very nice point. The tip is very good for doing quite fine lines. So you don't really need to switch to a different brush. And clearly those need to be painted in that colour now. Have you ever seen a plant with two different coloured leaves? We just planted a spirea, a little spirea shrub in the garden, and that has multicoloured leaves. In the spring it comes through red, yellow and orange, which is nice, and that will give us a little bit of colour. This centre piece here, I think I'm going to be bold and go in there with the spiral motif. Okay, I'm going to stop briefly and reflect on that and then come back and continue. Okay, so I've had a good look at this and decided that I'm probably not going to do anything else to it. It has some lovely features like all of these runbacks in the paint where the two different colours of the Kuretake paints have come together and mingled. And that's interesting in itself. I don't need to improve on that. I did try out a few ideas using some tracing paper to see whether or not I wanted to add any more graphic overlay over the top, but I decided in the end, after having tried that in different places, that I would leave it like that. I might have a go at doing this again and seeing how it turns out a second time. It's not a massive, huge work of art, but it's fun to do, and I think if you've got this set of Kuretake paints and you're wondering what to do with them, I think one of the best things you can do with these paints is to just let them do their own thing on a piece of paper. Be generous, buy some cheap watercolor paper that's not too demanding. You don't need arches for this. And experiment with the paint, see how it goes. Learn a bit about color theory, and what goes with what and why you like it. If you like it, don't you like it? And so on and so forth. So this is just something to play with, have fun, a 20-minute exercise. I don't want you to copy what I've done, but it would be lovely if you feel a little bit inspired to have a go and express your own inner world, which looks like mine's a bit haywire and chaotic, doesn't it? But, bound to be really, isn't it? So I'm going to let you go. Don't forget to like and subscribe, turn on notifications. Don't forget to turn on notifications if you want to find out whenever a new video goes up. And go and visit us on our website and join the Facebook group. And also, of course, don't forget to become a member of Patreon or the YouTube membership, which for $2.99 gives you all sorts of little privileges, which you can find out about if you pop along to Patreon and have a look at what's over there. All the information you need about what I've used is in the description below the video, as well as how to become a member. So I'll let you go now, and I'll see you soon. Bye for now, everybody. Bye-bye.